Hey, what's going on, guys? This one's going to be a little bit more about politics. I have 4 prophecies that I see coming true about the pandemic, about the election results. You know, we're entering into the 3rd week of December here. And long story short, guys, I'm telling you, there are some changes coming in our economy, in our life, and in the way we do things that are unlike anything we've ever fathomed. And I made a video about this before the pandemic, basically saying that I thought, here's what I think is going to happen. It was 3 days after the pandemic got announced, because that's basically what happened. We just decided we were going to lock down, and this is when the media told us and our government told us that we shouldn't touch playgrounds outside, that that everybody was going to die, that we were going to see millions of deaths. And that just didn't come through. Thank God. I'm glad they're wrong. I get it. We can't always know everything. So I'll give a little bit of favorability. But during that time, I made a video saying that basically this pandemic will be used as the primary tool to dethrone Donald Trump, or to dethrone him, to move Donald Trump out. And whether you love or hate Donald Trump, whether you agreed with him or not, it was pretty much the best bet they had. The Democrats had to make everybody think by using local news and regular news that we were swimming in bodies, and that because Donald Trump did something, that everybody was dying. And you might believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think that bottom line is that sure, this virus is serious. That being said, we're not swimming in bodies, and now we're starting to see that people that were going to die of flu, people that were going to die of chest issues, of heart disease, of everything, are being marked, rightfully so, or maybe not rightfully so, I don't know, as COVID deaths. But I'm going to talk about 4 things that are going to drastically change inside of our country here in the United States. And this is basically, this is my prophecy, and I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that I'm right. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Now, I know that this channel is all about entrepreneurship too, so I don't want to get too much into this, but let's just dive right in. Actually, it's 5 things. So the first thing that I'm noticing and I'm hearing is there is going to be a massive shift and increase in polarization. We have no idea how polarized things are going to get. And the first thing that we're going to see is there's going to be a drastic polarization in terms of our cities. Our cities and our regions and the places where we live are going to get more and more polarized. Hear me out real quick. First of all, I just heard a story yesterday of a real estate agent client of mine telling me that he had somebody that was living in outstate Minnesota tell him that he wanted to move into Minneapolis because he could not stand the Trump signs that he saw. He just couldn't fathom how anybody would ever support a racist, or he didn't extrapolate on this. Couldn't stand the Trump signs is what this quote was, right? I can understand that. I also know that a whole bunch of people that used to commute into the cities or used to live close to the city because their place of work was downtown, now that, you know, here in Minneapolis, we've got a super liberal city council, and they've decided that they're not going to enforce the law, that they're not going to have a bail system for certain crimes that they view as petty, but they're actually, you know, they're not petty. They've also announced that they're going to defund the police and increase social workers. I don't understand how that works. They've talked about that they're going to get away from crime enforcement and move towards pre-crime or crime prevention, thinking that basically you can go around and find the people you think are going to do crimes and then hold them, try and change them. Like, to me, I think there's the Minority Report's about that, and it doesn't work out in that, and I don't think it will work out for us either. But I know that more and more people, now that you can telecommute, now that you don't have to go into the big cities, and that are deciding to move further and further away from the cities. Myself, I would consider moving further out. I'm already 35 minutes, 40 minutes south of Minneapolis here. I don't want to be anywhere close to where the police are too busy to come and help you. We're already seeing this giant spike in crime in South Minneapolis. Carjackings and car robberies are up like 400% or something like that. So that's the way I think. This guy thinks the same thing, and I think what's going to happen is people are going to move away. In fact, when you look at what California is happening, if you lived in California or in New York, You used to live there because you loved the culture. Now the culture's gone. You can't go to restaurants in New York. You can't go to the club scenes. You can't do any of the things that you used to do. Now maybe that'll change, but my thought is that we have a new tool. Government has a new tool that they will weaponize to show that they're really serious about something. Right now it's COVID-19. You just wait. Remember, we thought we had an Ebola breakout a couple of years ago during Obama's presidency, and I mean they're gonna use this again. It's gonna pop up, and this new normal is really a game. But I think we're gonna see people moving out. Why would you stay in New York or California if you were a Trump supporter? If you were a conservative or more liberty-minded person, if you didn't believe in socialism or even just the Democrat Party, why in the world would you stay there? So they're going to leave. Meanwhile, I think people in red states that are Democrats, why would you stay there as Texas? Now, there is like people are leaving Democrat places because they're out of money. They're doing crazy things. But I'm just telling you, the first prophecy I have is that over the next 10 years, we're going to see a polarization just in the way we live. People are going to move into and out of areas where their political adversaries are at. And the reason why isn't just because we disagree. The real reason why is because what we saw during this pandemic is that you cannot trust, if you really don't believe that your life is in danger because of this pandemic, and your government just decides that it is, they took away your ability to work. I don't want to work in a city where they do that. Or when there's some sort of racial tension, that you're going to decide based upon the private parts of people or the color of their skin, whether or not you're going to apply the law to people. That's insane. Or if you live in California or San Francisco, and because of the pandemic, you just release prisoners, there's no bail, and you release them the next day. I mean, are you kidding me? I don't want anything to do with that. And I can't imagine, see, I'm giving all liberal examples. I don't know what the conservative examples of government overreach that make an area unbearable. What is it that makes a conservative town unbearable to live in? Well, we give you too much freedom. What, we don't give you more roads? Like, I don't even understand what it would be. But we're going to see a polarization. So that's the first thing that we're going to get, is people are going to move in and out of these areas. The second thing, we're going to see a workplace polarization, okay? I just made some hires. I will be hiring more. I have all sorts of small businesses that are hiring, and we hear stories. So we heard that story. I can't even remember what the big corporation was, but we know right now that there are workplaces that, you know, they had crying sessions and they allowed people to take days off when Donald Trump was elected. We also know that there are workplaces that wouldn't allow people to wear MAGA hats, which I get, but would also then allow some sort of, you know, BLM, something other. That's not the main point. The main point is there are certain things when you hire somebody that makes you go, for us to have chemistry, for us to work together, you can't have some of these views. Now, it's not that I would, so when I was hiring, I don't know how I would be able to hire somebody who's a Bernie Sanders supporter or even a more liberal person when it comes to policy. Because, hear me out here, this isn't just about not hiring somebody. You got to remember, there's a group of people out there, the BLM activists, believe that silence is violence. Okay, they think, or they're portraying, I don't think they really think this, I think they want to manipulate people by using this narrative. But they are saying that if you don't stand up in the manner that they want you to, and if you don't give the concessions that they're demanding, that your silence about the problems in the black community and the blight that we're seeing in different areas, that your silence is actually violence. Which means, if it is violence, and they also think that if you were to misgender somebody, or if your speech can be violence, folks, declaring something violence or having somebody think that you are genuinely committing violence by not doing what they want is troublesome at best, evil and wicked at normal, and you take it all the way forward, it is absolute insanity. The thought, like in UK right now, it's just one step away where that guy made his dog do a fake Hitler salute in parody of something silly to mock the Germans, and he got thrown in jail for it because he posted a video of it. Or you think about the people that are getting jail time by picking online arguments, and if you really believe that silence about racial injustices is violence, I don't think I can hire you. I don't think you can work for me. The other defend and almost die issue on this is, if you believe that profiting off of the work of other people is evil, if you think that that is evil capitalist behavior and that that's wrong and that that's exploitation, we can't work together. You literally don't deserve to have a job if you believe that. If you believe that, what you're also advocating for is that you should be in charge of the means of production, which is what socialism is. And what you don't understand is that without the entrepreneur to start the business and to get it going and to organize by getting sales and executing, all you do is go execute. All you go do is the job. And that's not what the hard part is. The hard part is finding people to give you money in order to accomplish that job, organizing the structure, leading the structure, managing the structure. You're a fool if you believe that. Go start your own business if you think that you should have the fruits of your labor. If you genuinely believe that profiting off of somebody's labor is exploitation, go start your own business and try it. Okay? There's no reason why you would hire somebody, go through the work and trouble, labor law, self-employment taxes, all the bureaucracy, to have somebody accomplish work that you went and got. You go get the work and you hand it over to somebody. Why would you not want to make a profit? If you believe that, I can't hire you. You cannot work for me. I will not hire you. Now, the other side of the coin is that if you're a racist Trump supporter, if you wore a MAGA hat and you're in the Target office, and your main thing is that you want to make sure that your book section is filled with environmental justice books, and you truly believe that by not forcing plastic recycling laws on straws and bags, we're murdering the planet. And if you genuinely believe, or you think you believe, all of these different social justice things, and if you genuinely think that everybody that's a conservative is a racist, why would you hire them? So the second thing is, we're going to see a workplace divide unlike ever before. Companies are either going to be, they're just going to polarize. That's the bottom line. Is we're going to see such a massive polarization in workplaces. I'm not hiring anybody that's a liberal. I'll hire a Democrat. It's not that I won't hire Democrats. And I don't think that my wise Democrat friends and good Democrat friends wouldn't hire conservatives. Because guess what? We make it rain. And so do good Democrats. They make it rain. They make it go well. They make businesses flourish. That being said, if there's a group of people that think silence is violence, why would they hire me if I'm silent about something? Or if I don't signal the virtue and try and accomplish it in their manner? If you genuinely think that people that support a political movement are racist, why would you hire them? If I genuinely think that you think that profiteering or profiting off of your labor is exploitation, why in the world would I hire you? Go make your own sales. Go make your own business. God, that one really gets me. Like, are you kidding me, you lazy wolf? If you really believe that, go do it. Shut up and don't make other people do it for you. It's that one just blows my mind. So we're going to see a workplace, and there's going to be a giant faction that's going to happen. The next thing that I would say is that there's going to be a massive media polarization. I haven't been watching MSNBC for a long time, except for to see what's going on. And then you have these middle grounds, CNN. That's just nonsense. And now what we just saw is that social media used to be the place where free thought could flow, and it still is. I'm still in support of social media, as much as conservatives don't like it. Folks, Facebook and YouTube have made people billions of dollars, millions of dollars that are not liberal. Trust me. We need to be really careful about how we're trying to force non-censorship, because I don't think they understand all the tensions at play. But anyways, I digress. I don't watch the local news. And the reason why is because I understand that all of these news media, all of them, are click farming. They are clickbait. They know that when you have sensational news, you're going to get more eyeballs. And all the news is doing, whether it's radio or whether it's television or whether it's a channel or a website, all they're doing is going, rabble, 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 look at me, sensationalism, sensationalism. Or I'm trying to manipulate you, and then, oh, look, you want to buy a Ford F-150? Oh, look, you need Prilosec? Oh, like, all they're trying to do is get eyes on you and to get clicks or to get views so they can sell commercials, folks. And I think we need, as liberty-minded people, we need to attack, why is it that not any company, why is it that companies have a utility right to the cords, the cable cord running into a home? I think we need to democratize those cables. I think that we need to take them over and if you want a channel, we should have 1,000 television channels. I don't understand why they get to dictate how that gets pumped. Anyways, I digress out of that. But I'm watching Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Daily Wire, Steve Louder with Crowder. That's how I consume my news. And I know that liberals aren't watching those. And what we're going to see now is an even deeper divide where not only are we not going to watch these other sources, but it's going to be who is an authoritative source? Who do you actually trust? What is truth? And as much as we can roll our eyes at that, there has been 2 narratives since Fox News arrived. And as much as people think that Fox News they're crazy, they're whatever. No, they're not. They're just not liberal. And they're not part of they don't just spin the Associated Press liberal spin. And we found out through WikiLeaks during the 2016 election that the DNC most certainly controls the narrative. They most certainly do. Donna Brazile got caught. We have their emails. John Podesta got caught telling them what should happen, and whether you agree with it or not, they got caught with their pants down. And that's exactly what we saw, and I think we can see it right now in the narratives that we saw in the 2020 election. So media polarization is going to increase, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. Basically, you're going to have, even right now, I'm at this shared office, and the shared office is hilarious because basically there's somebody comes in and turns it to the Young Turks, and then somebody else comes in and turns it to Newsmax, back and forth. Nobody wants to watch the regular cable, but it's either Newsmax, the conservative one, or the Young Turks, and I think it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek. It's all entrepreneurs and business owners where I'm at, like, for the most part, so it's kind of hilarious. But we're going to see media polarization big time. The factions have been chosen. And then we're going to have sector polarization. Okay, sector. So if you didn't know this, all public school teachers are Democrats, supposedly. If you didn't know this, pretty much everybody in the construction industry, except for the big megacorps, are not Democrats. Anybody in mining, they're conservative. Anybody who's in Wall Street is pretty liberal now because they use licensure law to keep people out. Basically, guys, here's what we're seeing. In the pandemic, what we're watching right now is that if the government wants to, for whatever reason, limit a business's ability to do anything, what they do is they say you can't open as a restaurateur. Restaurants are too dangerous. Gyms are too dangerous. Ignoring that dentists can have their hands in your mouth, ignoring that Walmart, Target get to have all their stores open. You can walk around there. They don't trust you. They're going to make the decision for you. And what's going to happen is these sectors, certain sectors are already politicized. We're going to see it drastically increase. We're going to see that there's going to be certain sectors that are going to suck up to government. Some are not. Some are going to suck up to other politicians, right? So just look at the moment that we thought that there was going to be a bailout. All of a sudden, certain industries got gigantic bailout money, and it's because they have associations, and those associations have lobbyists, and those lobbyists know these politicians. That's going to increase more and more. But we're also going to see it just because of licensure law. Okay, right now, if you were to break the rules and open your restaurant, you know what they do? They take away your business license. Now, all of us should wake up right now and recognize that licensure law is wicked and wrong. There should be nothing that the state does. We should not require the state to bless or allow a business in the name of protecting consumers. they 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 come in with their government checklist and say you have to do this. I would much rather have self-regulation in almost every sense. And then if the press actually did their job and told stories of when a company gets it wrong, and actually, rather than just having Trump clickbait all day long, they actually told stories of companies that need to be exposed with freedom of press and self-regulation. We would be much better. And I'm not saying that you get rid of all government regulation, but right now the pendulum has swung where you can't open a restaurant unless the government tells you you can. That's wrong. It's wrong. So what's going to happen here is there's going to be this licensure thing. You look at, so licensure, and then each sector is going to have a political bias even more and more, because if you don't, right, if you don't have one of the two parties advocating for you, like oil and gas, right? So you just think about how the Democrats plan for climate change. That's going to impact big time tons of industries, even computer industries. It's going to impact cars and roads and rubbers and clothing and like everything. So what the Democrats are trying to do, they're not just little things. So what's going to happen is each sector is going to have to politicize itself and try and make sure that their nut can be protected. They're not going to, you're not going to allow yourself to be beat. So sectors are going to get polarized, and then within each sector, there's going to be a polarization, because those that suck up to the government and get themselves little cutouts and blessings and subsidies are going to be different from the rest of us that don't have the money or don't join the association to go lobby. So you're going to see a giant polarization within subsidies. We already see it, like agriculture. Agriculture, we subsidize the price of corn for to try and get more ethanol. And because of that, there's a whole bunch of farmers that are straight up Democrat because they know that they get subsidies. But the last thing that there's going to be, it just comes down to pandemic favorability and enforcement favorability. So that's what we saw during the pandemic. You have to gain favorability for your sector. Well, now just extrapolate that there's 51% of the government power right now believes that the earth is going to burn and fall apart unless we stop using gasoline, unless we stop using oil, which their shoes, their clothes, the rubber on their car, the plastic on their car, like they want to get rid of all this stuff. So you just think about what's going to happen here. There's going to be two groups, and it's going to be split. Who's going to try and get that political favorability or protection? And then the last thing is entitlement polarization. Boy, I tell you what, this last week, one of the Democrats said that, people are pretty cynical about this vaccine. We want everybody to take the vaccine. Why don't we pay people $1,500 to take the vaccine? Folks, the free market side of me is like, that would work. Right now, I know that there's colleges. I got a guy, he's been telling me that his son has gotten tested for COVID like 7 or 8 times, because you can go in once a week and get a free Jimmy John sub if you take the test. I get it, putting that incentive might get people to do it. However, let's play the movie forward a little bit. Now let's say we're going to pay you if you mail in vote. Now let's say Republicans get in and they say, we'll pay you $1,000 not to vote by mail. I mean, whatever you do on one side, what happens when the shoe's on the other foot? Like, start thinking forward of, if we're willing to pay people to take a vaccine that we already paid for in order to do something that we want, now let's apply that to climate change stuff. Hey, if you trade in your car, cash for clunkers, we'll give you money for your junker car. Hey, if you decide that you wanted to start using the bus, you don't have to pay for the bus. We'll actually pay you 10 grand a year because we know that we're saving the planet and the economic footprint is so much better. And blah. I mean, you start playing this forward. What it's going to be is that they're going to pay people to stay in these liberal bastions, these cities, because there's going to be a flight from the cities. While I did say that there's going to be people that don't like Trump signs going to where they can go where there are no Trump signs, folks, the fact of the matter is, people aren't like, I really want to go to California. That's not what's happening right now. They want to go there because of the film industry and because of the weather, but they don't want to go to New York. They don't want to go to these liberal places right now. I don't think. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe there's going to be a giant flight towards high taxes and towards this thing. And the way they're going to do it is that in order to accomplish their climate change goals, in order to accomplish their economic and social economic and their racial justice, climate justice, goals, they're going to start taking money and giving it to people to accomplish their thing. And what that's going to do is it's going to exacerbate all of the polars. You think we're polarized right now? Can you imagine when we start finding out that they're going to pay everybody that agrees to get the vaccine $1,500, and they make any rule? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to register your kids for something. Or like, let's just say we're going to pay people to go to public school. Or let's just say that, as people start to decide they want to take ownership and they stop allowing homeschool, so they're going to give people money for this and that. Like, just start thinking through, if they'll do it for one thing, if they're going to do it for a vaccine, they did it for Cash for Clunkers. You remember Cash for Clunkers was, we will let you trade in your old car, we'll give you money that you can put towards a new car because that'll spur economic activity. That was Obama's great idea. And all it did was cause inflation. Sure, it saved the one sector. They picked their sector crony. We like the car industry the most because they're getting hit. Folks, the polarization is going to come because people are going to pick winners and losers. And government right now, the answer to all this, to get away from it, are three things. One, individual agency and liberty, and individuals acting away from these things. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we need to start recognizing, Democrats too, start recognizing that when you go in and do this central planning stuff, play the movie forward for if all of a sudden the shoe's on the other foot. So if you think it's cool that people in power and government power kind of change the election law because of the pandemic, well, now let's just start thinking about, well, economic crisis, we're going to make it so that XYZ, it doesn't matter. Like, start thinking through that everything you allow government to do is going to change when your political adversaries have that power. And it's going to happen because there's a cycle. Hard times produce hard people. Hard people produce good times. Good times produce soft people. Soft people produce hard times. There's a cycle. And boy, I tell you what, folks, we're going to have a polarization. If you like this information, like and subscribe. I don't always talk about politics, but I think I've got some foresight on this. And you may think I'm crazy, but you watch. I'm going to be right. Because people care now in a lot bigger way. And you know why? Because they're taking away your ability to work. They're not allowing your kid to go to the school that they've been giving to. Every free thing that they've given you right now, they're dangling in front of you for compliance on what they think is a 99.7% survival rate pandemic. Like, it's just mind-boggling. Anyways, good luck, guys. Take care.